Hi, Julie Torrance here. So grab your watercolor paper. I've got mine tacked down to a piece of cardboard. This is the Amazon Basics watercolor paper. I've got a straw. Grab a straw if you have one. Then I just have a couple of brushes, bigger brushes, but you're going to need a little bit of a smaller brush as we move along. This might be small enough. We'll see. And get your paint. And let's see what we can do. So, landscapes. I'm hearing from people that they want landscapes. Okay. We're going to start out with some very wet paint. So, I've got my little dish here. If you don't have a palette, then that's fine. Get yourself a little container like this. I can even use this to start, and you'll see what I mean. Pick one color that you like that is at least a medium shade. So let's look at my paints. So these three, white, yellow, no. Yellow ochre, no. I want something that's going to start light. We're going to add a lot of water to it, and then we're going to go a little less water, a little less water. I'm thinking my burnt sienna, my emerald green, although I'm going to avoid green. Pretty much any of the blues, although I know ultramarine, that can be light. The cerulean or the bright blue might be better. I think I'm going to go with my burnt sienna. Okay, but pick a color you like. I'm putting a lot of water on my brush. As a matter of fact, I'm going to dab. I'm going in the water, into the dish. I don't know if you can see how much water I have in there. I'll try to, probably a half a teaspoon. And now I'm going to wet my brush again and go into this burnt sienna. I'm loading her up. And this is a number 10. I want more. So I'm adding more water. Okay, we can kind of see what the color is there. A little more burnt sienna. I think this is pretty good. I hope it's enough. I think it will be, but I'm not sure, so I'm going to add more. More water. I know you can't see me adding the water, but I did. I added like 3 more brushes. All right, we're going with this. Enough. I am going to literally pour some of this on my plate, on my thing. What I'm looking for is an irregular kind of an oval. All right, here we go. Pour a little on, and I'm just giving it one of these. Pour a little more on. Good. Pour the rest on. All right, there's my first layer. And I'm keeping it irregular. I'm going to grab that. And now, while it's wet, I'm going to take my straw, and I'm just going to go around the edges just to get some flares. You're going to see my head, sorry. Okay, that's good. Now, I'm going to just take my brush, and where it's particularly heavy, I'm going to just push it towards the middle. Some went right off the page, that's fine. I didn't care if the spray, from the splashy part went off the page, but my basic oval here, I wanted it to be all on the page. Okay. Of course, it's warping. My center's going up. That's okay. I'm still moving paint in. This is one of those videos that I saw that's like one of those minute videos. It's going to take us longer than a minute, trust me. But fun inspiration. And I'll try to link who it was. She has classes on Patreon, and good for her. I am working hard to not go outside the perimeter, but I'm just pushing this paint in. And I don't know if you can tell, but I'm getting less paint on the edges. The paint that is on the edges now is good. Rinsing my brush, I'm going to dry. Okay, I think we're dry. It's still a little warm, so if your tape wants to come up, just push it down again when it's starting to cool, but it's not completely cooled down, and it usually kind of reattaches. All right, back with my number 10. Gonna go back to using burnt sienna. I'll go ahead and use my little cup. I'm going to again put water in, and I want it to be darker than it was, but not as dark as it can be. And I don't need anywhere near as much as I did for my initial splatter. Okay, that looks about good. And I can always add more. So I'm going to think about kind of where my horizon line, and I'm going to kind of in the middle. If anything, just a little bit less than the middle, but I'm going to go kind of in the middle, and I'm going to go irregular. And it can start a little high and go a little low, or the other way, or in a U shape. It doesn't matter. Just get another layer on. But this top line is what my first thought is. I want that top line. Now I'm going to go carefully as I can where the splatters are, because I'm going to want them to also be involved. Now I'm not going all the way down, I've gone down about 2 inches. And I think I kind of got to these edges. Okay, I like it. I'm just going to rinse my brush, set it aside, dry. Okay, she's dry, and I think my edge came out pretty nice. Now, got my same little bit, wet my brush. I am not adding more water. I'm just adding a little more paint. Good. And now I'm going to do the same thing again. And I think this time I'm going to start a little bit higher and end a little bit lower, but I want to start and stop within this margin. Okay, here I go. Good. And I'm going to bring it down. And I'm following the edge that we made. And now I've gone just a little bit below where we were. Now, I'm going to make it a touch darker. I'm just going once in my paint, adding it to, and I'm going over this again while it's wet. But I'm just dotting now because it's only going to go where the wet is. Okay. Just kind of push it around, hoping to get pretty much the same. Now, there's such a big space between here and here. I'm going to bring that up. Yep. It just looks too much of a space. All right. Now I'm going to go inside this little place. Real careful. And make sure I'm as best I can on this edge. It looks good. Rinse my brush. Dry. She's dry. Repeat. Rinse and repeat. It's a lot of what we do in this. There's my burnt sienna. I'm going to take a few swipes. Almost looks like I'm getting ready to do some coffee dyeing. I took a few more swipes. How am I doing? I think I could use a couple more swipes. All right. Now, I have no formula. I'm just guessing. But that's okay. Yep. So while I'm at this point, if you have a white pen or if you have your metallics, anything like that, go ahead and we're going to need those. But here we go. I'm going to start again. In here, you know, I'm overlapping. Good. And I'm just going to bring it across here. Now that line at the bottom where it overlaps, that's showing more because we're getting, you know, heavier and heavier with the paint. And so I rubbed it out. Yep, sure did. Okay. What do you think? Are you seeing the landscape of this? All right, well, dry. All righty then. I am wetting my brush, going into my burnt sienna, more. This is going to be the last layer. So I'm going in here with a pretty good amount of pigment. I think it's enough, but if it isn't, I can always add more. And I'm going to start high. And I just don't want to dip to where there's like a hole, you know. I'm staying in that margin that I put. And now I'm going to just fill in, but I want to kind of fill in these splatters. So that's going to take me just a little bit longer, but that's okay. If the splatter's too thin, just ignore it, because the paint would thin out. I am not going to get a little detail brush and try to work on those splatters. How we doing? What do you think? If you hear a dog, it's not mine, it's my neighbor. Probably the mailman. I don't know where they take the dog when they're both working, but they take the dog somewhere. It's a nice family. Okay, I'm just adding a little bit, if I feel like I can, to these splatters. And I kind of went down here past. So I just want that to be as dark as everything else. But it doesn't have to be perfect. We're not looking for perfection. Yeah, I'm liking it. What are you thinking? Okay. We're getting there. dry time. Okay, I did grab, like I said, some white pens. I also grabbed my white jelly roll, whatever you have that is white. I have white in my paint set, but it's more of a mixing white, so it just doesn't really do what I want it to do for today. I grabbed my metallics, and if you know me, you know that, in my opinion, metallics always need to be pre-activated. Oh, I'm liking this. Okay, now we're gonna put some details in. This is the fun part to me. So remember I said we might need a smaller brush. The smallest brush I brought out was my number 6 snap. I'm just looking to see if I feel like, not really. I may have some other ones in the jar, but what about this one? This is another snap. Okay, this one is a number 2. I'll start with this one, but I may switch to the number 2. Okay, for my first row, and I am just going to be working on this row, and not all the way across. So over here, and you know, that's even smaller. I'm going to start with the little brush, and I'm going to start with some of my burnt sienna full strength. I'm just going to put some right here on my palette, and I'm going to put some little trees, and I want them to pretty much stop on the line, but if they go below, that's okay. Just like that. I'm just kind of doing 1 dot, 2 dots, and a little more. These are just the indication of some trees. Put some over here. I'm clumping them up a little bit, because that's how they would be growing. If whatever the circumstances is good enough for a tree to grow in, then there's good enough for 3 trees to grow, you know? All right, a little bit more. Let's see, I'm leaning back just to take a look. Yeah. I think I'm going to add just a few that have reached in, but still quite a bit at the top. Okay, I'm leaving that as it is. Now, that brush, and I put a little bit of that burnt sienna there. I'm going to add to it some emerald green, because I feel like these trees are going to be a little bit closer, so we might be able to see just a little bit of color, and they're going to be bigger. So I'm going to start right here, but they're still far away. I'm not putting trunks on. I don't think we would see that much detail. And this tree is behind. This tree is in front. Yep, I'm liking it. Over here. Now I'm going to give this guy a little more detail. I'm just making like, whoa, good job, Julie. Could happen to you too. I'm just going to make some line. More than just dots, because this guy is going to be close. Good. And I'm going to give him a friend. All the way down here. Line, 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 line. A little more paint. Oh, yes. I think I need to have some a little bit closer over here. I'm rinsing my brush out, grabbing a little bit of that burnt sienna, rinsing my brush out, grabbing a little bit of the emerald green, mixing them up. And here we go. Get brave, folks. Get brave. So now I'm making, like, here's my stem. I'm going on the left, then straight down, and then to the right. This one's going to need more than one layer. These look fine. These guys, I'm going to add some lines. I made that guy just a little bit longer. I like those better. Our faraway trees that are way out there, they look fine. This needs another layer. I am going into the emerald green all by itself. Doesn't look that much different to me. I'm going rinse, 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 rinse. That is a strong color. I'm going into this cad yellow and adding just a little bit of that. But I'm using very thick paint here. And I'm only going to be adding it to this one. That's close up. Very good. I'm liking it. I'm liking it a lot. Okay. Now, up top, we could add a sun. We could add a moon. I think I want a moon. So I am going to take my glue stick and a pencil, but I'm going to go just as light as I can. Good. Now I have some kind of pearly paints. They're, what would you call them? Like pearlized colors. I'm going into this pearlized yellow. If you have any pearlized in a white shade, you can add it to any of your colors and you'll pearlize it. I'm getting green off of the brush. That green must have phthalo in it because it is strong. All right. Now, I am getting myself some yellow right here. I'm going onto the tray so that I can see how thick it is, how viscous. All right, is this dry before I put my arm on it? I think so. Okay, putting the moon in. I'm going to go into, just get a little water. I'm going to go into, well, I've got some yellow right here. And some yellow right there. Okay, let's add a little yellow. Now, moons often show up kind of gray. So I'm rinsing my brush. I'm going into the neutral black, like 2 baby swipes. And it's pretty watery. And I'm just going to add a little bit of this in here. And there could be clouds in front of it, or who knows. But I want it to look like a moon and not the sun. This is just a wet brush. Okay. I'm going back into my yellow, the pearlized yellow, and I'm giving it a rub. Okay, there's my little moon. And now, here's where you could use white, you could use gold, you could use silver, you could use whatever you want. But I want stars. And I want them pretty fine, but I don't want to splatter this all up because that'll look like snow. I'm going to start out with one of my white pearly paints over here. This one is white. See, I do have even though it's hard to see because of the splatters, this one is a pearly white and it doesn't shift to any other color. So that's what I'm using. As I say, use plain white, use what you have, use a Posca, but I'm just going to start out with some stars. I'm making some big stars and I'm making some little stars. And you don't have to start out with a piece of paper this big. I think further away from the moon, maybe you'll see them more. Sometimes close to the horizon, you see them more. And be as random as you can. Starry night. Okay, I'm reloading. I'm gonna close this so I can stick my hand. I want to go with more of a tip. I need a little more water. Barely put the tip in the water. Better add a little more paint, because I don't want to just be dotting water. But if you do, it's not a disaster. Now, some of these you might not be able to see, but that's kind of how it is in the sky, isn't it? Wow, I like it. Okay, now I am going into my white, loading up my brush. Gonna put it just in a flat spot, and I'm gonna put some white dots in. Just as tiny as I can. Not a lot, but it'll give them a little different glow. All right, now, I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to put kind of like a Milky Way kind of a thing. So I'm going to wet my brush. And where did I put that white? Right here. So I'm going to concentrate on just kind of like an extra strip of stars. I made a little drag mark. We'll just call that a shooting star. Have you ever seen the Milky Way where you live? When I was in Arizona, in Tucson, Tucson has the Kitt Peak Observatory, and because of that, they have laws about how much light there can be at night. And so, yeah, we could really see it. All right, folks. I like this. Don't know how you feel about it, but I like it. Okay. Let's get a little Julie here. And let's pull the tape off, see what we've got. Almost. Well, what do you think? I'm liking it, and I think it's a very nice landscape. Thanks for being here for this long. Thumbs up if you found this inspirational or helpful. And if you haven't subscribed, this is a good day to do it. I am so grateful that you're here. I'm going to be meeting you right down there in a video that's been picked out just for you. Bye now.